Good morning and a warm welcome to all of our viewers online for our new mentorship launch. I'd like to just say I'm Sunisha Munsami from the Technology Innovation Agency. I'm the head of the Innovation Skills Development Unit, the Enterprise Development Unit, and currently the Global Cleantech Innovation Program for South Africa. I would like to say a warm welcome to our local and international partners that have all joined us from afar and that are here with us today to celebrate this momentous occasion as we launch the first technology innovation mentorship program for South Africa. In keeping with Nelson Mandela's legacy, it is almost impossible until it's actually done. I'd like to thank our partners, Dave and his team from the National Mentorship Movement. It's been a 12-month journey with all of us to onboard our mentors and our mentees, and I must say it's been an incredible journey with working with you. In the 12 months, we really looked at how we can grow and strengthen our ecosystem partners. I see we have partners from CEDA, we have partners from CIFA, we have partners from all over, and we're looking to grow this program not only locally, but also focusing on how we can grow it into SADC as well as the African continent. As we look towards our global North partners, we found that mentorship has really become a state of mind. And I must say that any good innovation ecosystem, when we say how did they grow that innovation ecosystem, and we looked at partners from Silicon Valley, or we looked to the UK or Switzerland, we found that all of them had nothing but strong mentorship ecosystems. And by growing that strong mentorship ecosystem, we found that there's no way in South Africa we can't rely on our strong mentors that we have in our ecosystem, from industry partners, from government partners, and from the people that have volunteered their services and time. It is through this journey that we focused on strengthening our relationship with the National Mentorship Movement, reason being they have in excess of 1,000 mentors that have volunteered their time for this program. So I'm glad to say that we found the right partner. As we move in TIA, we found that we have a number of innovation programs, and we looked towards which are the innovation programs that would accept this kind of initiative. So one of the initiatives that we have is our Inclusive Innovation Development Unit, which is under the Department of Science and Innovation, and in that program are a number of grassroots innovators. And the reason why we actually looked towards helping our grassroots innovators, and I must say thank you to Dave and his team for doing that, is because young people of today really need one thing, and that is seriously good mentorship. The ability to mentor and guide young people in this ecosystem is what would take them forward to have sustainable businesses and for them to move forward in the ecosystem. So our Grassroots Innovation Program, we're proud to say we've had our insurance sector come on board, as well as the tourism sector. And in both those sectors, we have got mentors and mentees that are now onboarded into the program. So with our launch, we already have in excess of 30 to 40 mentors and mentees on the program, which we're glad to say today. So with that being said, I would like to say that our strategic intent from a TIA perspective is really looking at how do we grow the ecosystem, like I said, not only locally, but into the African continent, and grow the number of mentors that come on board. When we look towards these mentors, we found that there's specialized mentors, there's genderless mentors, and in the innovation ecosystem, there's a number of other mentors that come on board, with a particular focus on IP, on commercialization, and how do we strengthen really, really good innovative ideas getting to the market, and that could not be done without bringing on board very specialist mentors into this program. So with that being said, I would really like to welcome my next speaker, which is Lucy Moteka, which has been the program manager for this program for the past 12 months, and I think Lucy's really going to tell us why did TIA bring on board the TIA Mentorship Program. Thanks, Lucy, over to you.
To Sunisha Munsami, thank you very much, and a very good morning to the colleagues, to the stakeholders, to the partners, and to the esteemed guests that have joined us today on this special day when we're launching this mentorship program. If I can just start off by saying, like Sunisha has already alluded, the mentorship program or mentorship is one of TIA's key strategic commitments to supporting innovators. We work with innovators on an ongoing basis, and Tia has a pool of over 300 innovators within accelerator programs and within the seed program, and it is important to ensure that all these innovators hit the market and get their innovations into the market. So importantly also to outline is the fact that we live in an environment that is very volatile, that is uncertain, and also that is very complex. And it is important for innovations to hit the market as fast as they can in order to be successful. Otherwise, they become redundant, or by the time they get into the market, they get into the market when maybe someone has already had the same innovation into the market and the business does not succeed. So it is therefore very important to have these innovations that are very disruptive and that hit the market as fast as they can. So hence the reason, the importance why it is important for them to have business experts and mentors that are very experienced in getting innovations accelerated and walk them through the journey of getting their innovations into the market. So this is one of the main important reasons why the mentorship program is very important. The other important reason also is it is important for innovators or small businesses or startups to have mentorship, because when they tap into the experience and expertise of mentors, they're able to learn different perspectives, they're able to plan properly and draw up proper roadmaps for their own businesses in order to grow, and they're also able to develop skills that they require, they're able to build the teams that they require to make sure that the business is set for success. They also are able to put in place strategies that are necessary, marketing strategies, IP strategies, and all other important factors and elements that are necessary in order to get the business on a road to success. So if I can maybe just very briefly go into some of the reasons that have supported Tia to even formalizing and getting into a decision to formalize the mentorship program. Tia has a flagship program, the Global Cleantech Innovation Program, that is in partnership with UNIDO. And this program has been running since 2014. And I must say, this is not the only accelerator program that Tia is running. There's a number of other accelerator programs, which Senisha has already mentioned. But important with this program is that UNIDO in 2018, they initiated or they instituted a review of the program to see how the program has been running for the past 4 years since the inception. Now, UNIDO runs this program in partnership with 10 other countries. And in South Africa, Tia was the agency that was nominated to be able to implement this program locally and to make sure that we go out and find innovations in the clean tech space that mitigate climate change and also a reduction of carbon emissions, and to make sure that these innovations are de-risked and the innovations also go into the market and they are commercialized. Now, in so doing, the program has managed to de-risk over 160 innovations. And I'm proud to say to date, with the review that we've recently conducted, 78 of those businesses are still running. They might not all be in commercialization as yet, but they are on the verge of scaling up and commercializing. Now, the importance of mentioning this, when UNIDO instituted the review, what was most important from the review was the fact that the design of the program, the implementation of the program, and the rolling out of that particular program with the 10 different countries was very successful and was above standard. But some of the gaps that were highlighted from that review was the fact that we need to strengthen and create consistent mentorship, and we also need to make sure that the mentorship to support these innovators is sustainable. So hence, one of the reasons why it was also important, although knowing that it is our strategic intent, but also supporting the fact that we know that startups, they find it difficult to get to a point where they get into the market and they can commercialize, and the importance of the mentors being there in their journey. It is to ensure that on their route to market, market, they make sure that they really become successful and they're geared up to draw up proper maps that will make sure that the innovations are commercialized. So important also to mention some of the other reasons why mentorship is important. It is important for small businesses to have mentors because the mentors have experience and they have the expertise. That is very important. But they're also able to help them to make decisions. Like I said, they're also able to help them to plan properly their roadmap. But very important to assist them in those roadmaps to be able to navigate the critical milestones that they've set for themselves in order to get their business into the market. Now, two main issues which I've already mentioned, but I'll also touch on them briefly and just summarize them. It is important for the mentors, for the innovators, to make sure that they are mentored on the path to developing their own personal skills. And two, to develop or to walk them through the business path or the business growth path. And in so doing, the mentors are able to walk the innovators through their technology readiness levels to make sure that the innovation progresses and it's de-risked, and through the business readiness level that the business is ready to function and be operational as a fully fledged business. And thirdly, through the market readiness level, and that is to ensure that that business is ready to enter the market. Now, what is important is with mentorship, it's also important for the mentors to be able to connect these startups, these businesses, and these innovators through networks that they have that can ensure that the businesses do manage to raise follow-on funding, and they're able to also get into the market. And thirdly, they're also able to generate revenue, which makes them successful. Unless they generate revenue, they obviously will not be successful and they will not be sustainable. And hence, it is important for the mentors that are experienced, that have walked the journey, that should be able to mentor these innovators to get them to a point where they can generate an income. And just lastly, just to maybe briefly go on or touch on the process that we followed in formalizing this mentorship program. And I need to just also indicate that this is but just the first phase of the mentorship program. So this is a pilot that, like Sinisha's indicated, we've embarked on, and we brought on board the National Mentorship Movement to set up the platform for us. And we made a call, we had a call out where the mentors were invited to register on the platform and to be able to offer their services and support to mentor the innovators that we bring on board. And the pilot was run with the grassroots innovation program innovators. And Sinisha has already indicated that one, it was the INSETA project that we onboarded the innovators. We also onboarded innovators from the tourism sector. Now, these are key programs for Tia because they are in partnership with key partners also in the space. And the tourism is in partnership with the Department of Tourism, and the INSETA is in partnership with the Insurance SETA. So importantly is that the call was able to attract just over 100 mentors that came on board and that registered and that showed the interest and that showed the passion and the willingness to support these innovators and walk them through the journey of their innovation or through growing their businesses. And the innovators that came on board, we were able to onboard just almost about 30 innovators that were matched successfully with the mentors that have come on board, that have registered on the platform. And through this journey over the past 6 months, they've had these engagements, they've had the relationships to try and unpack what the businesses need and what the innovators need in order to get them ready, to get their businesses ready, to get the technologies ready, and to get the products ready to get into the market. So in brief, I must say, as I've indicated, this is just by the first step. So we're looking forward to big up growing the mentorship program because we have, like I indicated at the beginning, we have a pool of over 300 innovations that are sitting within Tia's portfolio that needs to be funded, that needs to be scaled up, that needs to be commercialized. So it is important for us to have a pool of very experienced mentors that would be able to walk these innovators to the point where they are commercialized. Just maybe in closing, just to say, I need to thank the innovators that, as Tia, on behalf of Tia, to thank the mentors that have come on board, that have sacrificed their time, that are willing to continuously give back and create a network of mentors that are always available. Because you must remember that these networks that are created, normally they don't end when a startup gets into business, but it's lifelong relationships that are created between the innovators and the mentors, and the networks that they also connect them with. They are networks and connections that are lifelong, because these are business partners within the space, within the industry, that will be able to assist them. They can tap into those expertise whenever they need to bounce back their ideas. So the mentors act as a springboard for these innovators to continuously tap into their knowledge. Just to close off, it is important for the mentors to also realize that even though they have volunteered and come onto the program to support this launch, to support the pilot, it is important for them to realize that the next phase of the program is obviously to ensure that the mentors are rewarded accordingly. The mentors are obviously recognized, because this is an important journey that grows the business, that has an impact in the economy, and that makes sure that these startups that Tia is harnessing and that Tia is putting through their portfolios and through their programs, the accelerator programs, they become successful and they can impact on the economy, and they can create jobs, and they can make sure that the startups are successful in what they are embarking to do. So I'd like to give a really thank you to all the mentors and to the innovators, to say thank you very much for coming on board and making sure that you tap into the expertise that you require, so that you don't make it a know-it-all, being a small business and being a startup, but you tap into the experience, into the expertise that you require in order to accelerate your journey into getting into the market and into generating an income and becoming a sustainable and a successful business. And it is through this pilot and it is through this program that we will ensure that we also have mentors that are sustainable, that are consistent, and that the program itself becomes sustainable, and it becomes consistent in supporting innovations that are coming through the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lucy. So I think you've all heard it. I think Lucy mentioned something very critical and important. In order for us to create this ecosystem and to grow it, we look towards diversity and culture in South Africa. And I think, as we all know, a lot of older mentors have come on board to support these programs over time, from industry and government as well, and community at large. The only way young people can support, grow, and mentor and come on board is that if they all can come on board and support another fellow innovator or entrepreneur that's coming up in the ranks. And by that I mean that if you have young people developing innovations and they're mentoring other young people, it becomes more inclusive and the diversity aspects are taken care. So as we grow and we look towards equality in South Africa, Lucy's correct. How do we grow, help each other, and let's strengthen the ecosystem by you becoming mentors and helping one another go forward. To all the viewers out there, I'd like to say that please don't go away. We have an exciting lineup of a panel with mentors and mentees that have traveled afar that are here to join us today. So I have Rosalind Solomon that's with us today. Rosalind is the program manager from the National Mentorship Movement, and she has some exciting discoveries to tell us. And I think for me, Rosalind, it really is about the value of mentorship. And you can only ever do that through storytelling. So Rosalind, I'm going to hand over to you and your exciting panel that's going to inspire all of us out there and all of the viewers today. So please don't go away. Please be patient as we move on to the panel discussion.
Welcome, everybody. We are really pleased that you've all joined us, especially to listen, as Lucy said, to the stories of our mentors and mentees who are about to embark on a very significant journey with us. So without much ado, I'm going to ask our panel to introduce themselves, starting with you, Freddie, as a mentor.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Fred Thompson. This is my mentee. I am from the U.S., as you can probably tell from the accent. I returned to South Africa, the continent, in 1993. I traveled back and forth for about a decade and moved permanently in 2002 or 2003. My background, Indiana University graduate. I'm most proud of my tool and die apprenticeship that I served in the U.S. automotive industry. I grew up on a farm. I've always been an entrepreneur from the standpoint that each time we would so-called lay our crops by, I would have my own little acreage in order to be able to grow and sell into the market. So for me, this idea of being a mentor just fits with what I'm all about intrinsically, and I must say that I'm proud of my mentee.
And Freddie, what brought you to this program? What encouraged you to volunteer?
I think it comes from having apprenticed and recognizing the importance of what role the journeyman artisans, they might not have been called mentors, but basically they saw me through some turbulent times. And I say turbulent times because when I entered into the U.S. automotive apprenticeship, I was one of only in the apprenticeship program, you know. So the challenges that I encountered, much like I can see the challenges that we're encountering here, is that there's still some obstacles out there that need to be dealt with, and a lot of time a mentor can pave the way with some genuine interest in the person that they are mentoring. I guess the problem with the name mentor, is there such thing as womentor?
Mentor?
Womentor?
There must be.
No, I'm saying because as I look at, we only have one female here, and I would like to think that we are looking for mentors who can help balance the skid as it relates to having diversity. But really, you know, this, I think it comes from the interest in plowing back, interested in seeing others accomplish things. I try to get traction with saying that, but you know, Mfundo, yesterday I went around the sun, what, the 72nd time. So yesterday was my birthday, I was 72 years old, and I'm trying to tell him that that might mean something. All of the time it doesn't work, you know. So, but at the end of the day, I just believe that, yeah, I believe that some of what you do as a mentor will be written into the book of life and would help maybe take you over in some areas where you came up short, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Freddie. So, Mfundo, looks like you've already been introduced.
Thanks.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you hope to achieve on this mentorship program.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat my name again. My name is Mfundo Hlophe. I used to refer to myself as a social entrepreneur, but somebody corrected me to say I'm an impact entrepreneur. My passion comes from the fact that I was born in a very tiny village on the border of Mpumalanga in Swaziland, and raised by my grandfather until the age of 9, when I moved to my father in Soweto, and he was one of the first black IT specialists at Standard Bank. And it was just the two of us, so he wasn't around most of the time. But I had a computer right in front of me. And that's through seeing him and just getting passionate about technology, paved a path where I sort of realized the power of technology. And especially with the background of coming from a rural town, it inspired a passion for impact with the use of technology. So over going through life, I got to encounter and meet up with a lot of people in that journey. And consequently, whilst Fred, we met up and were paired in this program, I've known him for 6 years. And I think what really attracted and forged this relationship was our passion for just impact. And he's mentioned that he comes from the US, but I think his investment in Africa as a whole, you know, has really solidified our mentorship and mentee relationship to a point where it's not just about business. And, you know, I genuinely think that he's someone who's really invested in seeing not just me, but Africa work, you know, and that comes from some of the crazy ideas that he has. And I think it's that. I mean, he's just mentioned that he turned 72 yesterday, and I sometimes forget that because his spirit is very young at heart. Yeah. Yeah.
So your journey is the continuation of something that started a long time ago. So Alan is a mentor who has been really well known to National Mentorship Movement for a long time, one of our greatest supporters. Alan, we probably couldn't do without you. So a little about you and what made you volunteer for the Tia program.
Thanks, Roz. Yeah, I think I've been involved in mentoring people for a long time. I've spent 40 years in the corporate world and did a lot of different things. I had a number of staff reporting to me, a number of teams working with. But I think, and when it relates, come back to the Tia program, since 1983, which is a long time ago, which was before many of you were born, I've been involved in innovation. And a lot of the banking products that people use today, ATMs and so on, I was involved in bringing that to market. And so it's not just the idea of technology is easy. It's how you take that technology and make it work and profit from it. And so with the result is that over the years I got very involved in that, and I was lucky enough to be a teammate and having mentored by people that I regard as brilliant and helped me grow. And through that knowledge and expertise that I've developed over time, I wanted to give back once I left the corporate world. And this particular program, and as you said, I mentor a number of people on a number of different programs, and also just in my own personal capacity. What I liked about the Tia program was the fact that it's involved in innovation, it's involved in growing product, and one of the biggest challenges with technology is turning it into something that people will use and spend, and you can make money out of it. And that's where I believe a lot of that can help, because I was also fortunate enough to be involved in possibly South Africa's first FinTech accelerator program, where we helped a number of businesses grow and develop, some of which there's a company that we helped that started off very small, is now in 44 countries in the world, a South African company with South African people, and they have grown and developed. And the interesting thing is 99.95% of the population don't know them, because they provide a back office service which just gets used worldwide. And being able to this mentorship through the Tia is to help, in my case, Titus, who's involved in the tourism business, to help him grow, disrupt the market, and come up with something which I think has got legs and potential. And that's where the excitement has come from. And I'm passionate about helping people to take them to the next level, because we have to as a country. We can't wait for everybody else. I can't change the world, but I can change a number of people around me. And that's really what it's about.
Thank you, Alan. So, Tabang, you also have an interesting story to tell, and to tell us what you are doing here as a mentee.
Well, my name is Thaba Marashwa, and I am the mentee. Basically, what brings me here is I actually know the essence of mentorship. I had or I have an experience of informal mentorship, and I can say that now my previous mentor, who is now a lifelong friend, he pushed me to be to actually now tap into those areas where I never really thought I can actually go. And he said to me that now, Tabang, you've got potential, you can actually do this. And he pushed me to even establish Study Show, which is my innovation in the insurance sector. And that's when I realized that now, you can never say you know enough, or you need someone who's walked the journey before you. That's why I said, if TIA and also NMM can provide mentorship program, I'm definitely jumping on board for a formal mentorship. And I can say that now I was actually privileged to be paired up with Mr. Marias, and he definitely helped me, guided me to make sure that now my innovation in the insurance sector, not only insurance sector, also digitally, it becomes established, and also show me what I need to do, because he's been there, he has done it. And yes, I can say that now this is what brings me here as a mentee.
And tell us a little bit about your background in your business.
Well, my background, or should I say my business, is it comes up or from a personal experience. Study Show is a short-term educational short-term insurance company that is actually being offered digitally. What we do basically is we are actually giving a second chance to tertiary students, because I've been there. I know what it means not to have a support, because remember, insurance is there to cushion. It's basically support to cover you for unforeseen circumstances. Many funders, they actually now take out money to fund these students. But what will happen should those students not meet your criteria? Are you gonna let the students now go? We've got a very high rate of students that have dropped out from universities, and when you look at that, it's because not that they don't really know what they went to university for. It's because they did not meet the criteria of now their funders, and they end up being let go. And if you are letting someone go, let's say at the second year of their degree, you're actually taking hope from that particular person. So because I've been there, and I realized that I'm going to be a hope for the hopeless, and I'm actually going to be there to make sure that I uplift and give second chance to those students that they're about to be let go by their actually funders, if I were to put it.
Thank you. Like so many innovators and entrepreneurs, driven by a passion of our own life experience.
Yes.
So, Moko.
Yes.
I think that as a working individual and mentor, it's pretty amazing that you give your time on top of all the work you do. So tell us a little bit about who is Moko.
Thank you very much, Rosalind, for that request. My name is Moko Mataba. I'm a mother of 3 beautiful boys. The youngest one is 2 months old. And was born in Soweto and raised in Soweto. And I've had the opportunity and the privilege of seeing the impact of that innovation has in terms of improving the lives of people, especially in the rural areas growing up. And that has really propelled me to ensure that I participate in the innovation sector, and that saw me starting my career here at the Technology Innovation Agency. And so I've had the opportunity of working for various institutions. And that includes TIA. I've worked for a number of development finance institutions and venture capital firm and the Innovation Hub that some of you may know about. And throughout my entire career, I had the privilege of also mentoring a number of small businesses in the process to transfer my skills and to also to ensure that I assist innovators to ensure that their businesses get launched into the market and they contribute meaningfully towards the South African economy. And for me, I think one of the key things that drive me and ensure that I volunteer to programs like this one is that this kind of program resonates very deeply with my values, my own personal values in life. I'm a person who likes assisting others and ensuring that I improve the livelihood of our people. And this kind of program also gives me an opportunity to ensure that I meet that value in my life. So I've learned that entrepreneurship presents a very good platform in meeting that need, in a sense that you get to see small businesses grow and compete shoulder to shoulder with other global companies on global platforms, and not only through job creation, but to also see these companies create products, innovative products that make everyday activities easier, and making the lives of South Africans and Africans in general easier, and also get to see them contribute meaningfully towards the South African economy. I've also had the opportunity of seeing some of the people that I've mentored, get mentioned in global platforms for the innovations that they have created, because maybe it's the first product globally to be seen, or because it has grown so much and it's making a name out there for itself, and South Africa gets to be in the limelight because of that. So those are some of the things that really attracted me towards this program.
And Impo, you are relatively new to the world of mentorship. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, what you're currently doing, and what you hope to expect on the journey going forward.
Oh, well, thank you very much, and let me also thank Tia for the opportunity that has actually provided us with. My name is Mpo. I was born and bred in a small farm next to Vrede in the Free State. Eventually, through my studies, when I actually went to tertiary, that's how I actually ended up here in Joburg. Obviously, I studied and then completed my studies within the space of tourism, and then towards the end of my studies, that's when the interest in entrepreneurship and business actually started. It's been a journey of between I could say 6 to 8 years, trying to start businesses that actually didn't make it to this point. Today I can actually say I'm basically on a journey towards basically building a product that will be much appreciated by the South African market and celebrated as well. In fact, the product that I'm actually building is basically related to what I've studied, and is also related to what I love. I love food, and I studied tourism, and my product, which is called Foodie, is basically a digital platform that is actually intended to sort of promote township-based eateries and restaurants, and also make them accessible. The reason behind it was that over the past few years, I could say 5, I've been just doing an observation in terms of the growth within the food tourism sector, particularly in the European markets, Asia markets. That market is quite growing, and I understand here in South Africa it's also a market that is actually growing. But what I've seen is that there isn't a product from a technological point of view that aims to facilitate that particular growth within the market. And believe you me, I can assure you that the South African food sector, particularly within our townships, offers a wide variety of like foods that are prepared with innovation, creativity. Therefore, I believe that there's an opportunity for the world to actually experience that. And I also believe that there's an opportunity as well as South Africans to actually experience that. Because most of us, we actually go to the mainstream restaurants where we actually enjoy food. But I have this passion to actually in fact, this conviction that you haven't actually experienced food if, for example, you haven't went to the township and actually experienced the locally prepared food. So that's basically my journey with regard to how I got to Joburg and my innovation as well.
And what do you hope to achieve by having a mentor?
Well, there's a number of things. Obviously, I hope the mentorship program is going to actually help me eventually launch my product and commercialize it and actually grow the business. Not only in South Africa, but beyond the borders of South Africa as well. And to be honest with you, as a first, this is my first mentorship program ever since I actually started. So there's a number of things that I hope the mentorship program is going to actually assist me with, particularly around how I'm going to deliver my product to my end users, and how I'm going to actually access the markets and also grow the product itself in terms of like customer acquisitions. So there's a number of areas in which, for example, I believe that the mentorship from when it started to this point is actually assisting me, and there's also other areas in which, for example, I still wish to explore with the mentorship program. If I may add, with regard to the mentorship program, which is something quite innovative, both from Tia and yourself as well as the National Mentorship Empowerment Program. I mean, with the pandemic of COVID, what I appreciate most is that this particular program, it's something that's quite interesting, is that this particular mentorship program is not only about the human element, where you actually get to interact with your mentor. There's also that element of the platform in which, for example, I believe that's what we are about here today, where you can actually go to the platform itself and actually access resources that can actually help you acquire knowledge and also engage each other through the platform as well. So it's quite exciting, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
And Wasui, who couldn't join us on our panel but has joined us online. What about you? Hi, Wasui. What about you? Tell us a little bit about yourselves, Doctor, and what brings you to this mentorship program.
Thanks, Rosalind, and good morning to fellow mentors and mentees, and to stakeholders in Tia, other listeners as well. I'm Dr. Wasui Afolabi. Everyone just called me Afo. And I'm happy to be one of the mentors pioneering the mentorship program for Tia, and the platform we're trying to build. In terms of my journey, my background, I have a strong technical background in chemistry, so my journey actually started out as a scientist. But things took a sharp left really quickly. After graduation, there were a lot of issues around IP. Some parties involved spinning out the outcome of the product, the result of my PhD program. And from there, I started having some specific interests around intellectual property. Then that led into an interesting emphasis on why mentorship is important, and that is experiential learning. With Tia, getting involved with Tia, I've had to go through some interesting programs with Tia, experiential program, which kind of like accelerate, my journey into the innovation space. And in terms of what I do now, post being a scientist, post having a PhD in chemistry, over the past couple of years, close to 7-8 years now, I've specialized in intellectual property management. So I'm an IP specialist. Beside helping, corporate or entrepreneurs in their IP strategy, develop their IP portfolio, I'm an entrepreneur by myself. I've co-founded businesses in South Africa and elsewhere in the African continent. But those are just the nice to have, the nice to learn in terms of who I am. But getting into the aspect of why was I really interested. Some things really stood out for me when I was in the venture capital industry. Part of our portfolio companies, that are really doing well, especially those that I was involved in, that was later then recognized as one of the most innovative startups in the world by World Economic Forum. What this company actually does, a South African company, I must say, is their rapid access to information. So these guys, they come from a demographics where they don't have to wait for specialists to know what is the next thing they should do. They have those people around them, they easily pick up the phone, ask for what should they do next, not having to go through that formal process. And through that, I got into discussion with some of the stakeholders within Tia. I got involved in some of their programs as well. So what I'm trying to allude to is we have really interesting entrepreneurs in South Africa. These guys are passionate, they are driven, they have innovative products, but that by itself, it's not enough. What you need is access to information, the necessary skills to actually translate what you have into something that could be marketable. So to cut it short, it's how could I give back? And by giving back, I mean, say, for example, some of the mentees that I've had to be involved with, with Tia, it's something as easy as, they have an issue with their contract or their intellectual property portfolio, or there's been an issue of wanting to trademark. These little things. If you were to go to IP firms or IP lawyers, though I do advise them that this is not a legal advice, but the ability to quickly inform them on what their next steps should be. This is what you should do. This is what you should have in place before reaching out, before spending thousands of rands, which may actually delay their progress. That has been really significant in getting those mentees towards their next step in commercializing their innovation or their technologies. And so far, it has been an interesting one. I've been involved with quite a number of mentees within different programs at Tia. And going forward, I look forward to the interesting programs that the National Mentorship Movement and the launch of the new platform, will provide, going forward in terms of streamlining and coordinating our efforts to help these entrepreneurs. Thank you, Rosalind.
Thank you very much. So I'm hoping now that we'll move from the panel into the sitting room. So this is now an open conversation. So if you have any questions of your colleagues, please ask. And I think I'd like to begin with National Mentorship Movement have a certain journey that we recommend. It starts with getting acquainted. And we ask mentors and mentees to stay in that space for a while until they've established trust. And then only to get direction, to start setting goals and identifying vision and everything. And then to spend the major time in what we call getting value. And then lastly, to wrap up this part of your mentorship journey. But as we already know, it never ends. But the formal closeout, and then how do you renew your engagement? So maybe Alan, because I probably know you best. How's your journeys been in your mentorship engagements? What's been important?
I think, Raz, the important thing is that it's getting to trust each other. Often you get two people put together, a mentor and a mentee that have never met each other, maybe don't meet each other, or hundreds of kilometers away, and it's building that relationship that on both sides, that as a mentor, I'm there to help as a sounding board, and also, can I add value? The mentee wants to know that the time that they take to talk to the mentor is going to be valuable for them. And the other side as well, as a mentor, I want to know that the mentee is going to take what I can offer, and I'm not always right, but take what I offer and use it to their benefit. And I think that is one of the biggest things. You have to build that trust up front, because everything flows from there. It's also a case of once that trust is built, and I've noticed on a number of the programs that I've involved, all of a sudden I get asked more often things, or I get a WhatsApp at 9 o'clock at night, or a voice message with a question or something like that, and that grows, because from there you can then start mutually exploring and having the difficult discussions. You know, one of the big things about innovation and developing is you can't wait until it's in the market and then have the difficult discussions. You have to have them up front. Is your product viable? Is the market going to buy it? Is it going to work? All of those things. And those difficult conversations cannot come without having trust. And luckily I've been able to, and the mentees, and Titus and some of the other folks I mentor, we've been able to have that in a non-threatening environment. Because upfront it could be seen as threatening, but it's a non-threatening environment, and that's really what I've learned. And as everyone has said, mentoring is it's not an event; it's a process, and it carries on for a number of years past the official side of things, and that can only come from having a relationship with a person that is built on trust and also respect, and I think that's the important bit.
Any of the mentors would like to build on that? Go for it, Moko.
Thanks, Rosalie. I totally agree with what Ellen has mentioned, and I think also it's important before you establish that relationship with your mentor to also try and understand their background. I've had an opportunity of working with a young gentleman from Mafeking, and who had a brilliant innovation, but they did not have the knowledge of using technology and stuff like that. And so, you know, so if you had not, if you did not have that knowledge, you know, or understanding that background, you'd miss out on the actual innovation that they have. So it's very important to, you know, understand their background, because you find that you work through programs like this one, you work with innovators who are at different levels in terms of their educational background and their knowledge about business. You may find that you work with someone who has got a business background, or someone who has had the opportunity to pursue different business interests like Mpo, but you may also find that you work with someone who has got zero knowledge when it comes to business, and so it helps to know how to engage them and where to start when you work with them.
Freddie, you were going to say something.
Yeah, as Alan was speaking, I was thinking in terms of having a common vision, believing in the same principles, you know, and I bring that, and that comes to mind because I think, as I mentioned, my first project in South Africa back in '93 was with FNB's IT division. They were going through some turbulence, and I say that part of the challenge is that technical people have a tendency to sometimes be arrogant. And I find that that's probably, and don't want to listen or don't know how to listen. So let me just kind of create this example. So they were about to be outsourced. The CEO had told the business units, well, look, if the internal IT function can't provide you with what you need, then you're free to go outside. So that supposedly changed their attitude about listening. And after about working with them 2 years, I came to the conclusion that they were not on the same mission as a department because some thought that they knew better about what the businesses want. And we have to constantly visit. I think it was Afalabi who was just talking about the importance of data. You know, and where they had made their mistake, they went and designed something that they thought people needed. And the banking units, they had spent about $1.5 million US back during that time. So they were in serious trouble. My point is, unless the technical people looking at from a technological standpoint really understand the need for data and how to listen to the voice of the customers, the path to commercialization is going to be real, real rough. And that was what I learned coming through the U.S. automotive industry, that one of the biggest problems with the big three, as an example, when I started my apprenticeship in 1972, I'm really dating myself now, aren't I? 5-year apprenticeship, the big three were General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler. By the time I finished my apprenticeship 5 years later, the big three were Nissan, Toyota, and Honda. And it all was predicated on us not, or the U.S. automotive industry not listening. And the other thing that I really found that was important in my life, mentoring and in general, was having a three-dimensional perspective on quality from the standpoint that it's not enough to meet specifications, standards, or requirements. You have to understand what are the expectations that are not mentioned. And even then, you need to be trying to exceed what people expect, because you don't get any point for doing what is expected. And that's what we discuss. And I would like to think that part of our relationship was built around Mfundo understanding this quality issue and understanding the importance of listening, you know. And I think over the last, 7 or 8 years, you know, we've managed to create a common framework around, number one, we can be mad twice. We can make a difference and we can make $1. I mean, and because that was the essence of what the Japanese taught us. Is that, look, you don't have to do anything but go research, find out, listen to the voice of the customer. And I end with this. So I think it was in around 81 or 82, U.S. CEO, the one, well, why is it that the Asian, the Japanese get access to the research information first? Simple answer, they paid for it. So when you start talking about Tia and other agencies, and when we start looking at the amount of money that we're investing with our mentees on research and development, what are those resources in order to be able to follow this flow mat from concept to development? And I just think that we, Tia, South Africa, has a unique opportunity because, like Alan was saying, in the digital space, we, South Africa, has been leading in a lot of ways. I mean, when I look at my banking app from the US and my banking app here, no comparison. So how do we take that know-how, that technology, and take it out there in the market such that it become opportunities for our mentees and with me for the continent? Because I'm passionate about trying to link up the diaspora, you know. There's a lot of people of African descent out there in the diaspora who can bring to bear things here if we create the mechanism, the conduit, and I'm saying Tia can be on the front end of that, you know, but it has to be a focus.
That's it. Wasui, what about you and your experience of your mentorship journey to date?
Thanks, Rosalind. Quite interesting to, hear Freddie's perspective and those of Alan as well. Beyond the products, beyond the innovation, the one thing that I've actually stood out, what is actually required for most of these mentees in this ecosystem around is mentors that are able to provide impartial view. Just like anywhere in the world, most of these founders they see their product as their babies. And you know what they do say? No one wants to hear their baby being called ugly. But from the onset, from the get-go, from the very first day that you are interacting with these mentees, if you're able to stand your ground as a mentor, that this is your experience, these are the values you'll be creating, and you insist on providing impartial view, you stand to gain nothing and you stand to lose nothing. So it's in your best interest, to follow the advice. You don't have to implement it. Pick what is useful for you. Then you have high chances of succeeding. So, for those that have actually been engaged with, that is something that have actually stood out, and it's kind of like increased the interest of wanting to help further. So they've realized you're able to provide the impartial view on their product, on their journey. So on the basis of that, everyone is on, there's this trust and there is the respect between the mentors and the mentees. So for this cohort of mentees that I've been engaged with, them being able to see the mentorship program from that perspective is something that is a positive. And beyond that, it's the culture. It's interesting that we are not trying to put square pegs in the round hole, or is a round peg in a square hole, whichever. What I mean by that is, it's one thing for us to have innovators and entrepreneurs in South Africa and trying to get mentors from Europe, from India, from the US. Oftentimes, yes, they could provide, technical expertise, but oftentimes they're not really sure of what the culture is in South Africa. So what the movement has done is, local solution to local problems. Most of the mentors, being by virtue of being based in South Africa, they understand the culture, they understand the environment, they understand the challenges. So pairing such experienced mentors with mentors in the local context, even though if it's something that has not been echoed as a win, it actually is, because in a way that has helped accelerate, the progression or the success of most of these innovators as they try to get their product to market. So far, you've been able to understand the culture and bringing the right people on. And on the mentor-mentor relationship, the impartial view, the understanding that this person is there to help, stand to gain nothing, would, is after, the success of my business, without having to stand in for any interest or whatsoever. Those have been, two major interests, so far. And, it's sort of sound like a point for encouragement for mentors to also want to do more for the mentees that have been mentored. Thanks, Rosalind.
Thank you. And I think to our mentees, if we're looking at our journey, what is the importance of understanding your mentor, where they come from? And especially, what's the importance of sharing your own story with your mentor?
Okay, must I answer that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, let me just take up from what Ellen has mentioned about mentors having to actually, ask the difficult questions now, because I think that's a role that they actually play. Because to be honest with you, my priorities is basically building the product. Someone, when he comes with an administrative issue, I feel like this person is taking much of my time, whereas my priority is about basically working with the development team and actually understanding where we are in terms of the product, when are we going to launch. And then you have a mentor then that comes and actually say, okay, Mpo, in terms of the legalities, have you considered this? Have you considered that? So I totally agree with what Ellen has mentioned in terms of the importance of mentors having to actually ask the difficult questions now, because immediately when the mentor actually asks that, you begin to actually start to actually say, okay, I need to actually start working on that, because you might be thinking that it's appropriate to actually work on that once, for example, the app is there on Apple Store or the app is there on Google Play Store. So that's one of the things that I've quite learned from Mentor, and I believe have been quite beneficial in terms of like our journey so far. And the other thing that Mr. Freddy has mentioned as well, with regard to listening, between non-technical and technical people. Often when a non-technical person actually comes in and suggests things on your products, like the doctor has been saying, we call them our babies. At this stage, I'm very, very passionate about my product. Therefore, as much as, like, for example, I take input from other people, I often find it very, very difficult to actually do that. But at the same time, I've learned to actually appreciate the fact that the idea of the mentor is not to actually mislead you, but it's to actually guide you. And I must say, from our engagement between myself with my mentor, there's a number of things that the mentor has actually suggested, which I believe will be quite helpful to the development of my product. And there's a number of other ideas as well that she has actually suggested, which I'm going to actually consider in the future in terms of like developing my product further. So that's one of the things that I can actually share with regard to the mentorship. And again, at the issue of punctuality, there's so many things that mentorship actually helps you with, because my mentor is quite punctual. If, for example, we have a meeting at 10 o'clock, it's 10 o'clock. Often I come in after 5 minutes, after 5 minutes later. But from that, I'm learning. It's basically skill sets which basically I'm learning from her, which I believe are quite important in actually growing as an entrepreneur and a business person as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tabang, I see you nodding frantically.
Oh yes, I actually agree with Mpo. One thing that I realized is, as a mentee, you need to be open to learning new things. And I realized that there's a lot of unlearning to actually to be done, especially to me as a mentee, because my vision is to see my innovation out there in the market. And there are many things that normally I miss. But if I have someone who has walked the journey before me, they can actually show me to say, Tabang, look, you need to now incorporate A, B, and C. Instead of just jumping into putting your innovation out there, let's rather backstep and actually work on those things. So patience is one thing that I realized that you need to learn as a mentee as well. All what I needed was on my side, since when I'm actually in the innovation insurance space, there's a lot of regulations, there's a lot of things to consider. Yes, regulations to consider. So imagine if now I just jump into implementation without considering all those relevant regulations. It means I'm going to do things the wrong way. So my mentor was able to say, Tabang, look, let's rather put everything aside and look at each and every step critically before we can even launch, before we can even go out there. So it's very much important for me as a mentee to listen, because my mentor is not actually working against me, but they are working for me to win. So that's what I learned. Yeah.
Now you're nodding, Mfundo.
Nodding. I think, thank you, Rosalind. I think I'm quite absorbing quite a lot in this session, and coming across different mentors and seeing different styles of mentorship. It's one thing having, my mentor has a lot of specialized knowledge, And I think probably some of the terms confuse me quite a lot, you know. But what I found is that he was talking about principles the other time, just when he was talking now. And as much as we are developing a product, in developing the product, it's sort of from the outside looking in, not from the inside looking out. And it has two connotations. It's personal and it's also business related, because what he's obviously been able to really impact me on is the type of character that you have to be, you know. And you can get the most knowledgeable person on specific fields, but if there's someone who does not inspire you to be a better person, you know, in order to either have impact on the market or lead a team. I'll just make an example, and I think Alan has just also, you know, highlighted the fact that there are entities that are out there, you know, that have amazing products and developing all these type of things. And I think the sustainability of those entities, because they were able to capture the customer, you know, and the customer in this case is not just a specific person who's just buying your product, but it's the general public, because the general public has something that is called brand loyalty. So whether or not drink, but because of certain values and principles that I identify with the specific brand, I'll have that loyalty to that brand. It also comes with the people that we work with and the team that we build, you know. Probably I can't pay my employees a specific amount of money or something like that, but because of the way that they feel when they are part of the team, you know, they'll then rank that higher up than the remuneration, you know. So that has been my biggest impact, especially with understanding the mentorship, but also as entrepreneurs and as the mentors themselves, you know. One thing that you get to realize is that the biggest commodity or asset you have is time, you know. And if someone is able to fully dedicate their time to you, you know, that's a major investment, more than money, more than knowledge or anything like that, but time. Yeah, thanks.
So I think a quick round for mentors. What has been the impact on you personally and your own learning? For mentees, what's the impact on you personally in your leadership and on transcending startup phase? And anybody can answer.
We start with that end this time.
I said anybody. We're going popcorn. Is it you, Paul?
Okay, well, since I'm next to you, I think let me start. Well, I think I'm still learning. You know, to be honest with you, I can't actually, like, you know, pinpoint and actually, like, you know, say, I think this one I've achieved or something like that. But I believe I'm still on the path, because I do believe that there's so many things that I still have to let go, you know, as an entrepreneur. Hence, my colleague was actually, like, you know, saying that it is important as well to actually, like, you know, build your brand. I believe I'm at that stage where I'm actually, like, you know, building my brand as a person that people will be able to actually, like, you know, associate with in terms of, like, my business as well, and obviously as a leader. So I can't say I've gained those skills. I believe I'm still a product in progress.
Okay, looks like we're going this way, Moko.
Okay, thanks, Roslyn. I think for me, what I've realized is that in the process of mentoring someone, you also learn something. You also get to grow your networks and the friendship, as many of our colleagues have mentioned, that you form that relationship. And I think owing to the fact that I am also employed in the banking space, it's also a good opportunity for me to identify an opportunity for for us to invest in small businesses. My day-to-day job also involves identifying investment opportunities, and so it gives me that good opportunity to do that. Yeah, and as I've also mentioned earlier on, the impact is that my personal values is to ensure that I contribute towards the improvement of other people's lives, and this kind of platform allows me to do that, and that's a positive impact in my own personal life. So yeah.
Thabang?
In terms of what I do, or what I'm taking, like in a mentorship program, as I mentioned that I've been involved in a informal mentorship before, I realized that since when it's a continuous thing or process, you are building a relationship above all. And Ellen mentioned, the fundamental aspect of building that particular relationship is it's built on trust. It's built on, yes, basically it's trust. Being able to trust the next person enough so that I can take their advice and implement them, or do whatever that I do. So going forward, I would say it's continuous. Like Mpo mentioned, that I'm still learning. There are many things that I can't say that I am an expert in. So, and also I'm taking in the fact that I'm tapping into new network. Tapping into a new network because my mentor is going to say, look, Thabang, this is the type of people that I know. So if I know these people, I believe that they are going to be able to be beneficial to your innovation, and we can actually use their expertise as well. So it's a sharing of network as well. And that's what I'm actually grateful for.
Thank you. Al?
I think the first thing I learned is you're never too old to learn. But I think the one other thing is that you're meeting different people. Because I do a number of mentorship programs, plus in my own business life, I'm dealing with people I didn't deal with in the past. You're learning about people with ideas, some fantastic ideas, and so on. And when we were at that launch of the program in Sandton a few weeks ago, I was fascinated by the great ideas that people are coming up with, the mentees and so on. And there's one particular lady that I didn't have a chance to finish a discussion with. She sat next to me, and unfortunately I've forgotten your name, so I apologize if you're on the call. I think we didn't finish that discussion, but you've got a fantastic idea of how we can improve our knowledge of this country, because I think one of the biggest challenges is we've grown up in silos in a way, and we don't know what we don't know, and there's so many opportunities out there, and hence getting involved in this program and learning. I've now learned about chicken farming, okay, and I've learned about making clothes for the retail trade and so on, because of the people I'm working with. And that's the fascinating part about the whole thing, is learning and being able to use what knowledge I have. I think one of the other things is, and I've seen it with the mentees as well, is realizing they actually know a lot more than they thought they did, but it's been pulled out. And it's that interaction that really helps to make people better. So that's where what I've found with this whole thing.
How about you?
Thanks, Rosalind. My mentor, I think, mentioned this at the beginning, is that he just turned 72, and he has a lot of knowledge, quite a lot of knowledge, and my capacity to absorb that is sometimes challenged. But one of the biggest, so we're in commercializing phase now, and he's really been involved in quite a lot of these processes, And mine was, when you move from the startup phase and you're going to commercialize, you want to sort of have a product that's ready, for the market. You wanted everything to be perfect. And I was like, no, we're going to pilot here. And, then once we've got the pilot, it's like, nope. So he has this concept called fix and flight. you know, and that fix and flight for him means, you know, now let's go take this all over the place, and then now you have to sort of come back and deliver on what, you know, you've basically been doing. But I think it's more than anything leveraging off those expertise, because those people have walked the journey. But because he's also getting quite old, I have very limited time to obviously sponge over it. He says that he's not looking to retire anytime soon. But I had to remind him that today we have this session, it's a Wednesday, because yesterday he thought it was a Monday. You know? But yeah, I think it's one of the things, and I would like to also, because of just realizing how much more we all are gaining from different aspects of mentorship, you know. Obviously, yes, Tia has played quite a huge role on that, but hearing what Alan has to offer, you know, hearing what Dr. Wasso has to offer, I think with the grouping of these mentors here, you know, we could really leverage off, especially even the mentees. I'm in the same program as Tabang. We are in the same program, you know, and it's the first time that we've actually physically met, you know, and we're just realizing that, look, we're all doing the same thing. We're all trying to get somewhere. And the journey of an entrepreneur is never an easy one, you know, and it's just nice to know that you have a common understanding with the people that you're working with. Thanks.
And Freddie, you've had a long time to learn about yourself, it seems.
Yes, 72 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you know, I'm aware that it's a blessing. You know, I mean, to be sitting here at my age, and I'm glad that he finally acknowledged it, because I keep reminding him, man, I can't burn it at both ends like I used to, you know. So we're talking about him just doing a recording session on the things that he wants to do or to drain from me. But honestly, genuinely, the reason that I came to the continent was to have a brain drain done on me. Not that I know everything, but to be here for, let me say, to be somewhat technically inclined from the standpoint of the manufacturing, and then, let me say, academically having gone through that. I don't know that the academic side of it has served me that well, because most of my successes, I think, I fall under my apprenticeship, you know. But the other side of that is that what I'm finding out about Mfundo is that it's not so much that he don't know as much as it is that he thinks that he knows that isn't so. I mean, we rewind that one again. You know, so we grow up with certain things, and people put pins in your bubble to say that you can't do this and you can't do that. And basically what I want to be to him when he talks about fix and flight, it's okay to make a mistake, but make sure that you learn from that mistake, you know, because the essence of experimenting, body of knowledge that I think that has valued me the most, there's two components. Number one, to get away from this idea that I want to be average by meeting specifications and standards. No, I'm not in business to be average, okay? And the other side of that is to be able to look at, ultimately, what is it that we have in common? And I say that we have in common from the standpoint of being people of African descent who have had similar challenges on that side of the water and on this side of the water too. So it's incumbent upon me to be able to share with them. Case in point, last month, when you say fix and flight, we opened up in Ghana. You know, we opened up in Ghana. No, we don't have the capacity to be there now, but we've managed to find a partner who bought into the idea. It resonated with them. So I'm saying, so okay, let's build. Tia's doing the same thing with their processes, you know, and there is no way, even though from a standpoint that we want to always do it right the first time, but you can't learn much from doing it right. You learn from making mistakes. And as long as you have the data, and in my philosophy, in God we trust, all else bring data. I need to see the facts I need to see the data that you use to take that decision. And for me, that's where the intelligence lies. I go back to what Dr., if I'm getting his name right, Afalabi was saying, the remote speaker. The importance of that data, for me, from my experience in life, you can't even put a value on it. You know, and it's not about just having big data. It's how do you take that data and turn it into information that helps you to make a better decision. So for me, it's an opportunity. Mentoring is an opportunity for me to grow because, as Alan was saying, you never get too old to learn. You know, and Mfundo is taking me on an excursion that I'm enjoying from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. And Rasui, we're going to end this conversation with you. So what have you learned or discovered about yourself in your mentorship journeys?
Perfect. Thanks, Rosalind. It's quite interesting. I think for me, to date, even till this morning, it's the theory of change. The way you can do things 10 years ago, you know, in terms of stability, kind of like give you an edge. In this day and age, the political situation, economic, social, it just keeps changing, you know. And with that comes, you know, the pressure for you to keep adapting whatever it is you're trying to do. Even if you're in the same industry, the way you've been able to apply your strategy 5-6 years ago doesn't mean you'll be able to help a mentee same way today. There are just a lot of moving parts that you have to consider. And that kind of like keep you on your toes to understand the dynamics of the space that you're working with. And second to that is, you know, failure. Coming to realize you need to talk about it more. Same way, you know, we celebrate success. We want to talk about what the future looks like when we're eventually successful. It's equally important to talk about failure. And that then brings me to one of the key strengths that I've discovered about myself, whether in terms of you're looking at your IP strategy, your marketing plans, your corporate culture, it's due diligencing. You know, it's something we used to do once in a while back then. Maybe if you're going into mergers and acquisition, you wanting to raise capital, but much more recently, it's probably, if you can do that every month, every 6 months, it's, you know, to troubleshoot your business. What could go wrong? What are you into getting right? So, you know, that alone, you know, for me and for colleagues or for mentees that I work with is looking at the failures, what could go wrong, and we working together on learnership phase. So now it's looking at failure from the objective end of trying to correct the problem before it eventually happens. Yes, we want to succeed, but you know, let's both come down to the same level, look at failure and try to do our due diligence. So this is actually really very important. So I couldn't stress that enough. So yeah, about me is, what I'm really picking is beyond the network, you know, it's, you know, spinning out a company these days, or working with startups these days. It's more interesting than it used to be those days. And also working with the spin out or working with these mentees, actually, there are 1,001 ways in which things could go wrong. There are no SOPs, there are no, you know, fixed guidelines on what you should do, you know, you just keep, but, you know, to get that sorted, it's for you to have the mindset of, you know, due diligencing. And I've been trying, you know, to apply same principle in my day-to-day activities, you know, do your due diligence at least once a month, twice a year, for you to make sure you're still on the right channel to achieving the success that you want to achieve. Thanks, Rosalind.
So thank you.
Thanks,
thank you to everybody for sharing the stories of our panelists from near and from far. And thank you to all of you for giving up your time to be here today. We really, really are grateful for that. And so we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we're going to come back for some more information on the program and the platform.
And a welcome back to all of you. I think we really were inspired by the panel. Some key takeaways from the panel was, let's grow the number of youth, let's grow the number of women clearly in the program. As we can see, our very inspiring mentor, Moko, who has been with Tia as well, has really inspired a number of youth, and she's had the opportunity of seeing some of the innovations that she's worked with become commercialized. And like we said, it's all about really taking that good idea and getting it in the market, because that creates the jobs, that creates the excitement, and that creates our country growing our economy as well as growing it on the continent. So now I'd like to introduce you to our next speaker for the day, and it's a very, very dear friend of mine. I'd like to introduce you to Dave Wilson, who is the co-founder and the CEO of the National Mentorship Movement. I think I know Dave now for the past 2 years, and we're really looking at just growing this ecosystem and getting the mentorship movement right in South Africa, but like I said, not only for South Africa, but for our continent. Dave, I'd like to hand over to you, and I know you're going to take us through really looking at the mentorship program and where it stemmed from. But before Dave goes there, I just want to make an announcement about the Global Cleantech Innovation Program that has brought us here today. So I think a very, very important ambit of that program being successful in South Africa was it started in South Africa with UNIDO, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, and it has grown over the past number of years. With that program, we've seen both local mentors come on board and international mentors. And South Africa has played a critical role in this program. And the reason for mentioning this is we have some of our mentors on board looking at us online, and they've played a critical role in growing some of the young innovations in South Africa and taking it to market. And with that being said, recently at UNIDO's Global Forum, we had our winner, Simon from Moteka, that won the program 2 years ago, one of the youngest founders of Moteka. But very importantly, in the past year, he's raised in excess of 81 million rand to take his innovation forward in terms of Moteka. So we're just saying, without that mentorship and that guidance coming through from the Global Cleantech Innovation Program mentors, it's not that easy to be done. And Simon always says to me, you know what, Sunisha, that program has really taught us that having a good mentor on board and having the right acumen on board in terms of business skills, you are able to then leapfrog your innovation to the market. So I think a very, very important thing is that as we look at innovation and we look at how we're growing in this pandemic environment, it's very important that it takes warm bodies and real people to move your technology and innovation forward. And that's why we're very grateful to partner with Dave. And I'm going to hand over to Dave now. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Sunisha. Wow, wasn't that a most amazing panel? I'm always reminded that there's nothing ordinary about ordinary South Africans and adopted South Africans in Freddie. Aren't they extraordinary? Yeah, we always talk about South Africans being resilient. I'm a bit tired of being called resilient. I think we should call ourselves generous, because listen to our mentors and what they're prepared to give up just to make a difference. And I think we should call ourselves courageous, because it's not easy being a mentee, taking on board the advice of people when you want to deal with your product, as Mpho saying, they want to say, is there a market? It takes courage to embrace this. So let's embrace the community that you could begin to feel developing even in this room. And that's really the power. The platform is important, and I'll talk about it. Far more important is the power of the community, the power of ideas, the energy which gets from people coming together. And that's what really drives the National Mentorship Movement, is that power which exists within each and every one of us South Africans, mentor and mentee alike. So briefly, Lucy started by pointing out that this program began through a review of the original GSIP program, and identifying that there was a need for more sustainable and consistent support from our for the mentees on the program. And I think when we received the request for proposal, we were really excited by the insight that was shown by Tia, that they were really keen to formalize what was already in existence. It's not that Tia didn't understand mentorship was important, but they realized the need to formalize it and to, frankly, expand it. And so the major focus of this program is having a platform in place which enables us to manage the relationships, but equally importantly is to create the community of people who are going to make the difference. So let's talk quickly about the platform. Zamo will talk you through what the platform entails in more detail later on. But just on the screen, for those of you who are watching, the important thing is that the platform enables us to take on board and to register the mentors and the mentees. You'll see that in that central bar, that we can match the right mentors and the mentees together, and that we can then manage the relationships through the period typically of a year, where we can send out surveys and so on, and keep in contact with the relationships, make sure things are working, intervening if necessary. And out of that platform, of course, we can then report on what's going on, and I'll give you some idea of what the reporting will look like in a minute. And we manage the community, etc., through it. As Impo also mentioned, there are other resources available on the platform. So the platform is one important component. But another one is the community of volunteers that we are creating. Fully registered on the platform at the moment are 42 mentors. And as you can see from the demographics here, it's a pretty diverse group of people. So there's a good demographic mix. Not so great on the gender front, Sinisha, as you've observed. Freddie, you also mentioned the issue around gender. We really do need to increase the numbers. So those of you who are watching, women who are interested and inspired by what you've heard, we would love to hear from you to register. Fairly spread across the country, quite a significant proportion in Gauteng. And at the moment, 24 actually in partnership. I think it's actually now 26, but when I prepared the presentation last week, it was 24. So that is our community of mentors. We meet as a community once a month. We're beginning to create that sense of joint discovery and co-learning from one another through this journey. We've had 3 sessions so far. We've dealt with everything from the whole cycle of entrepreneurship through to the diagnostic, which Mike Nayanes is with us in the room, has designed in order to assist us in understanding where in the process people are. And we also have the business model canvas to assist the mentors as they go through. So that we're very excited about that. And as new mentors come on board, and again, those of you on the screen who want to participate in a really interesting conversation, please join those sessions once a month. You'll learn a lot, and I'm sure you'll contribute a lot. I think just briefly before I go through the specific program, the grassroots innovation program, I need to talk a little bit about the national mentorship movement. It's been spoken about a lot, so I think I need to introduce it. We are an NPO. We've been going since 2016. We are a Section 18A public benefit organization. We're here to introduce mentorship at scale. We are obviously absolutely convinced about the benefit of mentorship. All the international research indicates that people with mentors are twice as likely to succeed as those who don't. People are twice as likely to grow a business, employ more people, succeed in business longer than 5 years with a mentor than without. So we are completely committed to that. We have some really influential people involved behind us. Our chairman is Maurice Khadebe, himself an entrepreneur. He was involved in the founding of Exxon Petroleum, also one of South Africa's senior businessmen as heading the energy business for Sasol. He's now head of the Wits Business School. So people like that are very much engaged in what we do. And we operate through programs within other organizations. We're obviously very thrilled to be involved with Tia on this program. And coincidentally, one of the other programs leading up to this program before we became involved with Tia was our program in the tourism industry with the Department of Tourism. So it was a happy coincidence that many of our mentors have already been operating in the tourism industry. But we're doing a program in the small-scale construction sector at the moment. We're doing a program in the printing industry. And we're doing a number of other programs with entrepreneurs, like with the Craft and Design Institute, the V&A Waterfront, and we're doing programs with students as well, particularly students who are on New Venture Creation program with Da Vinci to assist them to start their own businesses. So we're very excited about what we've achieved. We have over 1,000 registered mentors on our platform, many of them on this call, and I really would appeal to you, if you'd like to become involved in TIA, that you do so. We are currently mentoring about 730 people, and since inception, 1,500. And finally, over 90% of the participants, mentors and mentees alike, would recommend what we're doing. So we're very, very excited to partner with TIA on this. So just talking about now the program, the GIP program we're working on at the moment, and I just want to go through three elements. Just a bit of an overview of who the mentors and mentees are on the program. Then how do we measure progress? How do we measure from the beginning, where we are when we start the program, when we started the program a few months back, to where we will end up in a year's time? And then finally, what's really important to us is the program happening? Are people actually meeting, and are people having a good experience when they do so? So I'll quickly run you through that. So on the screen, you'll see the entrepreneur background. So these are some of the demographics of the people in the program. A couple of comments from some of them and some of the feedback from our surveys. So it's a 50-50 between in-situ and tourism. 12 in each, predominantly African, but a good sprinkling of other communities. The male-female balance is not too bad, 10 to 14. Some are relatively small, 0 to 2 employees, the majority of those. But the point of the program is obviously to grow that. What they're looking for from the program, interestingly enough, a lot of it is around marketing and sales, and Paul mentioned that again, that the focus is so much on the product that we often forget, is there a market? Is there a business that we can run? And the majority are in a Gauteng. So those are the entrepreneurs on the program. On the mentors on the program are also pretty diverse. So you can see the number of mentors from a racial perspective. We are, as we mentioned at the beginning, have to confess that our gender balance is not where we'd like it to be. Again, an appeal to people on the call to join the program. And the geographic spread is pretty well the same as the mentees. So there's some comments from the mentors. Help me understand the nature of the business model. Important that comment there, you can see that the mentors are learning from the program themselves. This is not just about how good I am and how wonderful, if you could learn from me, how great you'd be. But actually, I'm here to learn from you as well. So mentees, never forget, your mentors are not here just because they want to make a difference. They're also here because they want to learn. And I think that came through from the panel. So I'd like to move then on to the measurement benchmarks. How do we know whether this has been working? And there are two major types of measures. The first one is to go through the readiness level. And Lucy touched upon that at the beginning. How are we looking in terms of our technology readiness level, our marketing readiness level, and the business readiness level? That's one component. And the other component is, how am I as an individual growing as an individual? So what we've done at the beginning, we have the benchmark, where we started from. So these are the benchmarks on the readiness measures. We only measure the business readiness measure at 6 months and then again at 12 months. So what you'll see on the screen is on the left the technology readiness level, and you'll see the vast majority of people are not in the commercialization phase, and we know who that commercialization person is because he was on the one on the right-hand side of that panel. The majority are in the idea stage, technology formulation stage, up to the prototyping. And from a market readiness level, also a lot of them are in the early phases. And that's the exciting phase for the mentors to work. And we will then measure again at 6 months and again at 12 months to see how people have moved through that, and we'll add the business readiness measure as well. Again, some lovely mentee comments. The second thing we measure, as I say, is how's the individual growing? So there's the business. How are you in the business growing? And the things we measure there are things like, what is the level of personal self-confidence? What is your ability to deal with complexity? What's your ability to make difficult decisions? How's your ability to communicate? How confident are you in handling business challenges. And we ask that at the beginning, we ask that at 6 months, and we ask that at the end. And these are meta measures, because if you have greater self-confidence, ability to deal with complexity, etc., the chances of your business success are obviously higher. And as you can see on the screen on that diagram, those are the current measures. And what to me is very interesting is that the blue bar is how the mentees rate themselves. The orange bar is how the mentors rate the mentees. And you'll see that the mentors have far higher sense of confidence in their mentees at the beginning than the mentors do. And that's an interesting dynamic. And what we tend to see in programs is that that confidence in them from another assists the mentee in growing confidence. And assisting the mentee to grow in confidence makes them more likely to be successful. So those are the two levels, the benchmarks that we measure to begin with. And then we come back to the mentorship activity and health. So our key assumption is, backing all the research, if you have a mentor, you're twice as likely to be successful. We've adopted the slogan, in fact, that mentorship, the power of two. Not just the power of two people, but the power of two also means arithmetically doubling. And if you have a mentor, you're twice as likely to be successful. So we measure throughout the program, is mentorship happening and is it working? And is it happening is activity, people meeting, how long are they meeting for, etc. And is it working is my match good? How do I feel about the interpersonal relationships, etc. And we've been tracking that on this program so far. So as far as activity is concerned, the median number of meetings in the first 3 months has been 3. So people are meeting once a month. The average time meeting is about an hour. Some people have met 20 times, some people have met 6 times, but median is 3. And you can see some really positive comments from both the mentors and the mentees on how the process is working. So we know that people are meeting, and we have our wrappers, our relationship agents and project associates who contact the mentors and mentees regularly to make sure that mentorship activity is happening. But the second thing is mentorship health. So there we ask over a period of time, straight after the first meeting, a month after the first meeting, and then every 3 months, we track a number of different things, like the quality of the match and the quality of the interpersonal relationships, the platform effectiveness and the navigation on the platform, satisfaction with the program and the mentorship experience, extent to which people have set goals, and later on to the extent to which they've achieved the goals, and then the likelihood to recommend the program. So I've just prepared a composite of all of those measures on the diagram on the right. And you'll see that just over 10% are saying that's below expectation. Put it another way, just about 90% of the participants, mentors and mentees, again the mentees are the blue and the orange is the mentors, are saying that against those measures, this program is working. So we know people are meeting. We equally know that people are satisfied. And in fact, you'll see that from the mentee point of view, 33% of the participants saying this is exceeding their expectation. On the mentors, who are a much more critical bunch, 22% say exceeding. But overall, 89 and 88% of the mentors and mentees on the program are saying this is working. And then maybe just in conclusion, just a couple more remarks from the mentees, as mentors and mentees. And a couple of points there. For example, good listening, and we heard it from the panel. And one of the things you learned as a mentee is how to listen. And often it's not stuff you want to hear. It's those hard questions, that, the difficult questions that Alan was saying, which you don't want to hear, but you have to hear, and you have to work with it. The networking, accessing companies and organization, and just broadening knowledge and broadening experience. So from our side, we're really proud to be engaged and involved with this program. We're thrilled with the sort of sense of community that you've experienced today, and we experience in our Mental Connect calls. And we look forward to walking this journey with you, not only in South Africa, but beyond to SADC and the continent. We all know how much the difference mentorship could make in the success of our economy here and across the continent. So, Sanisha, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dave. So now we have Zamo, who's going to take us through the actual demo with some slides. She's online. She's going to join us online. But before I hand over to Zamo, just some key points, Dave. And I think, we share your vision about extending the opportunity to, like I said, our other alumni. And I'm hoping that all of your mentors online are listening in, and they really going to register and join this mentorship movement. And the same to all our alumni and all the other programs and anyone in the technology innovation space. I think for us to flight this live and to actually get more mentors on board is really going to be critical, because there's enough mentees and there's enough young people that need the guidance and assistance out there. Thank you. So Zamo, just to see if you're ready to go. So Zamo is the Operations and Customer Experience Manager of the National Mentorship Movement. Over to you, Zamo.
Thank you very much. Can the support screen team please put the presentation up? Thank you. So today I'll be taking you through the Tia Mentorship platform. And I'll just show you the user journey, how we move from registration to matching right until the end of the partnership. We'll also look at a bit of the back office, like the reporting, as well as the engagement, how we measure engagement between the mentor and mentee. Can you please move to the next slide? So Dave has spoken about the overview of the process. And here it is again. And what I'll be taking you through now is the mentor and mentee path. Next slide, please. So what is a path? A mentor and mentee path is basically sorry, I got lost there for a bit, but a mentor and mentee path is the participants portal. So this includes the registration, material on how to actually prepare for a successful relationship, as well as the mentorship tips and tools. Next slide, please. So the mentor path is similar to the mentee path. There isn't much of a difference. The only difference there is that the material or the onboarding material on the mentor path is then that speaks to the mentor, like how they can strengthen their expertise, as well as strengthening the mentorship or the mentoring muscle and connecting with others in the community. To the support team, is it possible for me to share screen on my side? Because there's a bit of a delay and my slides are not coming out the way I'd like them to.
Zamo, yes, you can. It should be working on your side.
Thank you. I'm going to try this again. Can everybody see my presentation now? All right, so we've looked at the platform and its processes, and we were speaking about the portal or the mentee portal. So on this portal, it's got the registration. For the pilot program, we included the pre-registration questionnaire just to gauge which participants can join the program, and they had to motivate to join the program. After the pre-registration, participants then went into the actual registration survey. where we've asked them details about their innovation, where they are in the market, and where they are, which stage their innovation is at. I did touch on how we include onboarding material that helps participants better prepare to be in a mentoring relationship, and also the tools that we've put together. The tools are important because this can help the mentee reflect on where they've been, where they are, but most importantly, where they want to be. All of this can be tailor-made per program, and we put the onboarding material there that we feel will aid the mentor or the mentee before they match. And then the mentor path. Like the mentee path, we've got different path sections with the onboarding material, which we include there to speak to the audience, and also material that speaks more to the mentees and help the mentees build their mentoring muscles. One of our panelists, Paul, spoke about connecting with others. The platform really allows mentors and mentees to engage with each other, even the ones that they are not in relationship with. So once you have onboarded and registered, we encourage mentors and mentees to then click on the circle on the top right-hand side of my screen to zhuzh up their profile, so that the person you'll be in a mentoring relationship knows a little bit more about you and where you've been, where you are, and what you aspire. If you look at the top, we've got goals. So participants can set their goals, and they can set as many goals as they like, mark the goals as not started, in progress, or complete. There's also a notebook where they can keep notes for each meeting that they connect or they go to. It also shows the number of connections or networks you have made through the program, and others can give you feedback on their interaction with you. Further to my right, there's a tab there that's called Enable Ask Me. That allows participants to engage with each other, ask each other questions, even those that they're not in a group with or in partnership with. A lot of our innovators have actually used this feature to source for themselves a dual mentor, for instance. Next, we'll be looking at the matching. As we put together the registration survey, we then take into account the match criteria. For the pilot program, for instance, we looked at the mentee's focus area in comparison to the mentor skills. We looked at the level of experience, the job title, but most importantly for Tia, we also looked at the innovation sector and the innovation sector or sectors that the mentor has worked in. What the platform does is that it gives us the top match recommendation. And then we have a team of relationship agents or rappers that then eyeball that match to ensure that this is indeed the right one, and that participants will make the most of their experience with that specific mentoring partner. Again, this is the matching tool. We can set the match criteria based on what we want to achieve from the program. And it also shows us a score at the back office. So for this program, we can decide that any match score that's below 70% will have to run a rematch or find another mentor, an alternative mentor for that mentee. Or we can actually decide on the type of score that aids people to be matched. But again, we have a team that will still eyeball that match, even if the match score is high. And most importantly, after the matching, we then form a partnership between the mentor and mentee. Similar to both the mentor and mentee path, the partnership path also has material that will help the mentor and mentee through the partnership journey. Over here, this is the homepage after mentors and mentees have been matched. And for those that have engaged the platform, I'm sure you are aware that on the right-hand side, you see all the paths, and you can then also see your partnership path. So on the mentee or mentor path, you are able to engage with other mentors or mentees on the platform, and on the partnership, that's now one-on-one interaction between the mentor and mentee in question. Well, this is the partnership path we're going to be looking at today. The partnership path also has surveys, and we encourage our participants to please give us this feedback, because this helps us improve where we need to improve, so that you can have the experience that you expect to have from this program. Participants can also look at why they were matched to the specific mentor and mentee, their partnership journey, which also reflects on the content that the mentor and mentee have engaged with. And also, you can always go back to your individual path and see what you said on registration. For the innovators that are part of the program, upon registration, we ask them where their innovation is in the market. Is it ready? And then as they go through the partnership path, they are able to see their progress against where they said they were in the beginning and where they are after 6 months, which Dave also touched on a little bit during his presentation. What you see in front of you now is the Tia Mentorship House. So within the Mentorship House, there are different programs. So all these tabs are programs. Within a program, we then have different cohorts. For the GSUP program, for example, we've got the tourism as well as the INSETA cohort. In a cohort, we can manage participants if we want to pause information, for example, at a click of a button, we search for Mpo's name, we click on Mpo, we know where Mpo is, where Mpo wants to go, and how we can support Mpo. Sorry for using you, Mpo. And then through the journey, we look at how the mentor and mentee are progressing. So every single thing that participants engage with is captured from the meetings they set on the platform, the content they view or the resources they look at, as well as their surveys feedback. So this can help us see where we need to step in as the background or support team to support our innovators. If you see on the right-hand side of my page, there is then the progress bar. This, for example, is the registration. Here we can see how many mentees, for example, have completed their registration as compared to those that clicked to wanting to start their registration. The progress bar is also what we can see when we look at the survey responses. I have included the kickoff survey or the survey. So this, for example, is the number of participants that completed their kickoff survey, the number of participants that had not completed, and still coming if there were any. We can export this data, see what participants have said at the kickoff, and as well have an overview of what they participants have answered, or how they've answered rather their questions. So ladies and gentlemen, there's so much more I would have liked to show you, but due to the interest of time, that's all I could show you today. And I'd also like to open up the discussion to our mentors and mentees. Any questions you may have, please shoot me with those questions. And if you have experienced something when you were navigating the platform that you're not sure about, please let us know so we can address it for you.
Thank you so much for that, Zamo. So there you've seen it, a little bit more about the actual platform and how it works. It really is a source of creating an online platform for where mentors and mentors can converse and actually understand how we track them where they are to date. I think for me, it's really a springboard for our innovators to bounce their ideas and get guidance on their journey while they're on this innovation journey. It's also really an ecosystem opportunity where we're building a lifelong experience with our mentors and mentees and growing, like I said, both our local and international mentorship program globally. I think the added benefit also really improves your awareness, it improves your skills, your growth, your business networks. We are hoping, Dave, as we go forward with this mentorship program, we would have more hybrid sessions like these with the mentors and the mentees, just understanding how we could assist other young mentees in other programs. I think we've had one or two questions on the chat box, which I would really like to take the opportunity, and maybe, Dave, if you'd like to help me answer one or two of them. There was a question from Tato. She said, hi, hello there, guys. How could Tia or the National Mentorship Movement help us as village innovators and software programmers? So I think that's a very important question. Currently, we have our grassroots innovation program learners that are in the mentorship program. So like I said, we started off with looking at our grassroots innovators, which are innovators that come out of communities that were previously marginalized. And we've taken them on board as our first cohorts to help them through this program. And definitely in terms of software programmers, we could assist you through our other platforms. We are in partnership with a number of other incubators, for example, that focuses on software programmers, that there would be mentors that could aid and assist you going forward. From my side, I think I would really like to close off with the next steps in terms of the program. It's really been, like I said, an honor and a privilege to launch this mentorship program in South Africa today with the National Mentorship Movement and our ecosystem partners from community at large, like I said. And I think a key and clear focus going forward is we would also be focusing on our global Cleantech innovation program, which really is looking at strengthening the ecosystem in previously marginalized communities. And what do we mean when I say that? It basically means that previously, all of the global Cleantech innovation innovators primarily came out of Gauteng, KZN, and the Western Cape. So our new focus is going to be on capacity building programs in, for example, the Eastern Cape, Mpumalanga, Limpopo, and the Northern Cape, at the Northwest as well. With that being said, we're looking to grow this partnership with the National Mentorship Movement in capacitating mentors and training them up, Dave, in terms of how can they be better mentors in those provinces coming on board. Like we said, inclusivity does not mean us taking people always from Gauteng in the Western Cape. It rather means how do we capacitate our mentors in their local communities. By that we mean we will train them, upscale, and let them twin even with other mentors from our other provinces. A very clear decision that we've taken to move forward. This system really shows our commitment to growing our mentors and mentees. And like I said, if we look at best practice around the world, I've just recently traveled to Ireland, where I met with Enterprise Ireland. The system that we have locally, I must say, it is world class. It really stands a test of time in terms of what we're doing. Where we may see variances is obviously to create any other new ideas or platforms like this, but the key messaging here is in terms of South Africa is not short of good technology, we're not short of good people, it's just how do we get more people to come on board so that we can grow our ecosystem better. On the actual program going forward, we do believe that we will listen out to our mentors and we listen out to the new wave of youth coming on board. We do believe that in the technology and innovation space, we do have specialized mentors. I just heard Fred speak, for example, about their expertise coming on board. If there's a way to remunerate any of the mentors coming on board, we will look at ways and options to do that with the National Mentorship Movement, because I do believe that some expertise in the sense of commercialization, in terms of IP, and in terms of really reaching and scaling up on local and international markets, we would have to come on board to look at how is that possible. From my side, I'm looking forward to working with all of you. I'm looking forward to all of you going onto the National Mentorship Movement's website, coming on board and registering into our program for the future. Thank you so much.